Well, let me share a story with you. A story about a boy whose parents were called to school. The school needed him to drop Spanish as a subject because he was struggling and needed support. While the other kids were out there playing with dolls, bats, and balls, this boy's mind was wandering. He was rocking chairs, breaking pencils, and tossing things around. Agreed, he was surely different, but different because he wanted to be an entrepreneur, build things from the ground up, and disrupt markets. Hello and welcome all. That boy is me, Uday Bhatia. I know what it's like to feel that you're out of place, that feeling where you're not quite cutting it. But what I also know what it's like to surprise everyone around me, my parents, my friends, my family, and most importantly myself. Not only did I manage to turn things around, but I also managed to get accepted into a private Ivy League. Now imagine if you were my parents, would you have expected the same kid who was struggling to be giving a TEDx talk here? Would you have expected him to go to UK on a fully funded trip to meet the Prince of Wales? Or would you have expected him to be a founder of two successful ventures? Well, it's simply amazing what happens when you embrace your differences and pursue your dreams. Well, ever since I was young, I wanted to build things from the ground up. I wanted to do something commercially viable. Well, in the fifth grade, I started selling fidget spinners. And guys, please don't follow my lead on that one because my parents got a school call from school. Then in the sixth grade, I made my first video game on Roblox. Well, ever since I was young, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And today, I'm going to share my journey, a journey of a boy who struggled academically to being a social entrepreneur. Well, what really is an entrepreneur? To many of us, an entrepreneur is someone who drives a Ferrari while calling the shots, runs a business, or sells products. But those are mere surface level stereotypes. To me, an entrepreneur is someone who's a master at solving problems innovatively. Well, ever since I was young, I've had this one sole dream to be a tech-based entrepreneur. We've all been there, right? You have this amazing dream, an outstanding business idea, only to hear things like, you won't make it without mentorship, or running a business is tough. It is this kind of advice that makes you second guess yourself, even though deep down you know you've got something special. Well, the funny thing is, if a business idea always failed in the market, it surely found a place on anyone's resume, and it surely did in mine. Well, when COVID-19 struck, everything was brought to a grinding halt. Roads were deserted, streets were empty, and the entertainment industry went dark. But for us students, it was brutal. Our lifeline to learning, schools closed their doors on us. Our tuition centers shut. And that's when I got an idea to innovate my own e-learning platform for the international boards. An e-learning platform not just for myself, but for all the students across the globe, for IGCSE, IB, and the A-levels. Just when I was about to dive into creating this platform, I came across an entrepreneurship competition called YEA, the Young Entrepreneurship Academy. I finally got a chance to put this unrealistic idea into action. Well, when I started the competition, everyone told me to just make a simple business pitch. A pitch where I just presented the conceptual idea. But for me, this was no ordinary competition. It wasn't about winning, it wasn't about getting the first or second place. It was about creating my very own e-learning platform and engineering something from the ground up. So that's when I founded my first venture, Find a Tutor. While the other kids were out there perfecting their business pitch, working on their marketing slides, doing the SWOT analysis, I was out there hustling, onboarding actual tutors, talking to real students, and on a mission to create something tangible before the competition began. Well, I ended up working days and nights, and guys, please don't do that unless you want that C in English literature to be staring at your face. But guess what? The hard work paid off in ways I never imagined, and opened doors that I never even knew existed. I got an opportunity to pitch to Sequoia Capital, one of the largest VCs in the world, and also an opportunity to intern with Lightbox. I was one of the 4 students at that time who got this opportunity. It's simply amazing what happens when you put your 100% in each and every opportunity, and the outcome would be far beyond what you originally anticipated. But the story doesn't end here. Thanks to a stroke of luck, my trajectory completely changed. The head of the pitching competition, YA, ended up becoming a Shark Tank judge. Yes, that Shark Tank, the famous reality show. That's when the judge offered me a position, not just to run her business, but also to be a regional head for her. And that's when things completely changed for me. But when you hear, when you hear those diminishing statistics about getting that so-called breakthrough in life, we hear things like 0.5% of startups reach that so-called unicorn status, or 1 in 10,000 people make it big. But here's the thing, opportunities are like seeds. You plant them without knowing what the outcome would be. Some may end up sprouting, some may end up growing rapidly, and some may end up getting withered away. But what's the takeaway? The takeaway is to recognize value in each and every opportunity, even when things seem uncertain. Like Steve Jobs once used to say, you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backwards. And what he means by this is each step you take today, each person you interact with has the potential to change your trajectory in ways you've never even imagined. Well, how many of you have thought of something unconventional or had an unconventional idea, only to hear things like, you're just a kid, you don't have a professional degree? Well, I'm not going to lie, of course, we don't have a degree. We lack credibility and we aren't professionals. But what I do believe is being young is actually your biggest advantage. Imagine this. Let's say you have a fully loaded gun magazine, where each bullet represents an opportunity to take a risk, an opportunity to innovate, an opportunity to create your own product, an opportunity to disrupt the market. When you're young, you have a magazine full of these opportunities. And that's what makes a young entrepreneur so truly powerful. Because you can afford to take risks, you can bounce back from failure, and you can do whatever you want because you have a lifetime of years ahead. So never truly underestimate the fact that you're young. One of the other important lessons I've learned as an entrepreneur is the ability to distinguish between what's scary and what's truly dangerous. Well, I've always had that feeling, a knot forming in my stomach right before starting something new. Just like over here, right before I was about to give this TED talk, a knot formed in my stomach. But here's the thing. It wasn't really dangerous. It was just uncharted territory. Now, how many of you feel a little anxious when you're about to board that flight? You know that feeling, right? Your heart starts racing, your palms start sweating, and suddenly the idea of being 35,000 feet in the air just seems daunting. Now tell me this, how many of you enter a car and go for drives without a second thought? Did you know that you're 86 times more likely to die in a car accident than in a plane crash? Yet, we hop into cars without hesitation. Why? Because driving is dangerous, because driving is not scary, it's familiar, we are familiar with it. While flying is an uncharted territory, we all inherently assume that is something to be feared of, and it's something that's dangerous. Well, entrepreneurship is no different. It's a journey full of unfamiliarities, uncertainties, but it's not dangerous. It's just scary. Well, I can juxtapose this to my own journey when I first started selling bulbs. Well, I was just a 16-year-old boy selling bulbs in a market that was dominated by monopolies, by big players like Philips, with deep pockets and established brands. I could feel people around me sensing, why should we buy this bulb from a 16-year-old? After all, he doesn't even have a warranty. Initially, when I started selling bulbs, I branded myself as Roshni Electric. Well, at that point of time, it made perfect sense, right? Roshni in Hindi means light. It would resonate with the consumers. But then reality set in. I didn't get a single sale. No one was buying a bulb from me. After all, why would they? I was an unbranded product, that too, an unbranded, uninnovative product. And that's when reality set in. I had a light bulb moment of my own. I realized that it wasn't the perfect quality, the competitive pricing, or the innovative product. It was my purpose. And then everything started to change. Suddenly, I was no ordinary 16-year-old boy selling bulbs. I was leading a movement. A movement to illuminate every household in rural India. People weren't just buying my product. They were buying into my vision to ensure that every household across rural India is illuminated. So I decided to rebrand myself as Uday Electric. Now, before you think I'm full of myself for naming a company after me, let me explain. My name literally means literally refers to the sunrise, and it made perfect sense. It couldn't have been more better because it resonated with our mission to illuminate every home. With my brand and my personal mission intertwined, Uday Electric wasn't just a business. It was a part of who I am. Making it succeed wasn't just a business objective. It was my own personal growth, a reflection of my own journey. There came a point in school. There came a point in school when my brand and my name were so intertwined. People would call me Uday Electric instead of Uday Bhatia. And whenever you ask someone who Uday Bhatia is, they'd probably say, "Isn't he the guy who sells bulbs?" And you know what? I'm completely okay with that, because it symbolizes what just started off as a mere idea became something so large. And our mission echoed across the globe right after we rebranded. I got an opportunity to meet the Prince of Wales in UK. I got featured in 50 different media outlets, and I've also pitched to IIT on circularity. So what's the takeaway? The takeaway is, see, at the end of the day, we are young, we aren't engineers over here. But what we can do is we can create a purpose that resonates uniquely with everyone. A purpose that makes people believe. A purpose that makes people buy into your vision. And that's what I did with Uday Electric. As I conclude this TED Talk, I would like to end with my 4-point mantra. And that is, seize every opportunity, being young is your biggest advantage, and scary, not dangerous. And most importantly, a purpose-driven story. This very mantra helped me turn skeptics into believers and believers into followers. Thank you.